love and light. So many of you have heard me say that The Matrix is the modern day Bible, the movie, that, you know, it is more, it is a clearer representation of the truth than most religions by far. If we just replace, you know, the mechanistic view of artificial intelligence with our own shadow, you know, with our own false illusions and artificial creations. So, and I often wondered, like, how could the directors and the writers and the actors and all of that, how could they make something like this and not see the truth in their actual lives? You know, how could they not actually wake up? So, but then again, I didn't wake up the first time I watched it. I mean, it put some cracks in there, I'm sure. Put some cracks in the facade, but I didn't wake all the way up, no. So, I was not aware that the films were based loosely on a series of books called The Matrix, which started in 1988 by Valdemar Valerian. Okay? Now, I started with Matrix 5, because, and I'm going to upload these books, okay? Now, I'm starting with Matrix 5 because the first Matrix books were mainly dealing with, you know, the covert secret space program, the alien abductions, the dark agendas, and it's not like super easy to read because it's mostly memos and like confidential reports and stuff, and then some writing on it. And plus, most of us know that stuff at this point. And even in looking at the author's progression in his books, I can see that he started there where many of us did, and went on to wake up, went on to have a spiritual awakening, and is now in full communication and able to communicate with it, see his higher self and visit the higher realms, you know. And so Matrix 5 is much more relevant to where we currently are today. But I gotta say, in reading this book, and remembering, which talks a lot about out-of-body experiences and deals a lot with Monroe's works, and journeys out of the body and everything, okay? And also referencing my own out-of-body experiences, my own astral journeys, my own lucid dreams, you know, all these experiences I've had. Some things really clicked into place. Really clicked into place for me that I've always known, but I did not see the scale of. I didn't see the scale of this thing, of our enslavement and the religious systems and science and all of them. The pendulums, what they talk about in train surfing, the pendulums, or the who puts this matrix together. All these different matrices, right? And now I really see it. How religion truly enslaves us, not just in this life. I mean, yeah, I've been talking about how religion is different from spirituality, how it imposes these distortions, how it enslaves you, how it gives you some truth while leading you away, you know? Sure. But it's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. And it's in all religion. I want to give you an example. Let me just give you an example. Let me put this back. Let me just give you an example. Let's say 400 years ago, we have a Buddhist monk. Okay, I'm just using Buddhism as an example. Sorry, this goes for all religions. This goes for every religion, and even more than religions. But this is just an example. 400 years ago, we have a Buddhist monk. Does not reach full enlightenment, but he does learn quite a bit about his own systems and power and energy and meditation in his life. Okay? When he passes on, he is very tied into his Buddhist identity and personality. Okay? And the powers he has gained. Let's say, for instance, just for example, let's say he has gained the ability in his life to stop all pain, to maybe read the minds of others slightly, maybe put some thoughts into someone's mind if he wanted to, psychic phenomena like these. Maybe he can warm his body and sit in the cold. Things others look at him and are like, wow, he doesn't want to let this go. He has become egoically attached to these specific powers, which are only limitations to his infinite self. This is still such a tiny thing for him, to be this little tiny being that can do these little tiny things for an infinite being, So he does not see this though. So when he dies, when he passes, he goes to a resonant place, a place where other Buddhists have gone and are meditating. He wakes up in a temple. He wakes up maybe in the same temple, but now all of a sudden there's all these other monks who have passed. Instead of seeing the other monks that are alive, now he's seeing other monks. Maybe he can see both all of a sudden. Maybe now he can see both because he's still interested in the monks that he passed. He had disciples there. He was teaching. He's tied into their growth and advancement. So now he can see both monks. He can see the fourth density monks and he can see the third density monks. So he starts with the fourth density monks helping train the third density monks from the other realm. So now, and at the same time, he in the same way that when we wake up in third density, we decide we must learn how to live here. People show us how to live, right? As soon as you get there, oh, you got to do this, this, and this, and this. You got to eat food. This is how you survive, right? We learn how to sustain ourselves within the realm, from within the realm's rules and limitations. So once he gets to fourth density, all the monks surround him and show him how to live here. And so he starts taking on the energy of fourth density and the realm he's in. And he learns ways and techniques that allow him to clothe himself into third density to appear to the third density people when he so desires. Those who are working with him, those monks that are attaining, So now let's say 400 years in the future, we have Buddhist monks at this temple praying to this statue of this enlightened sage who passed 400 years ago. And he appears, boom, a glowing monk, teaching them the way to enlightenment, teaching them the way to be in the lands with him after death in fourth density, So these monks do exactly what his do. They start praying to him. They resonate with his energy. They tie in, and he gets bigger. He feels it. He gets stronger. But what he's not seeing is the distortions he's picked up. What he's not seeing is he is no longer working for the path of all. He is working for the self-serving path, his own desires, his own goals, his own creations. He has become something other. This happens with Catholics, this happens with Christians, this happens with Mormons, this happens with Buddhists, this happens with Hindus, this happens with all of them. They are enslaving us. We are enslaving ourselves in this huge construct around the earth, this fourth density illusion with all these dream realms and mansions and Catholic realms and hells and all these scapes, and which allows all these dark beings to stay in the mix and prey upon people in between lives and afterlives. Because for a self-serving entity, ultimately we are faced with two choices: to serve the individual expression we are experiencing, which tells us we are something separate. We to some extent want to gratify that, whether that be 0.01% or 99.99% of our being. The other side that we cannot get away from is our connection to all things, because we are one. No matter how hard we try, we cannot escape our connection. So some portion of our being will be in service of others, no matter what. It does not aid the self at some point to burn every house down around them. So that is the ultimate question. So from the service to self perspective, when one starts to realize the structure of this reality, what the self-serving perspective wants is to have knowledge of the realm above it, maybe even two realms, so that it can, when it wants to, embody the realm with the pleasures and the self-serving aspect and experiences it wants, which make it feel more separate, and also be able to jump up to the higher realms to modify the lower realms reality whenever it wants. So it wants to, just like an elite person wants to be more wealthy than the other people, the soul who, the occultist, the soul who follows the left-hand path, no matter what path it thinks it follows, whether it's a religious structure which tells it's on the right-hand path, but it is following the self-serving path. It is not following the path of infinite source. It is not following the unified path, the integrative path of all. So, and they should be able to see that. That is so freaking obvious. It's so freaking obvious. If your religion tells you that you are separate from other believers, if your religion tells you that your God and this expression of God is, and your experience of God is above anyone else's, when there's only one God, there's only God and nothing else, then your religion is separating you from the truth. Period. Go no further. Think no further. Think no further. Once you realize the structure you have adopted is false on its most basic fundamental level, abandon it. Abandon it. Like the shackle it is. 99% of the people here are enslaved. Even the New Age people. Even the spiritual people. So the self-serving, so that's the trap of the self-serving path, right? As the occultist, you start to realize you have power. And do you use it? And what do you use it for? And if you use it for things which create karma, which create more division, which create the illusion of separation between others, then you in fact will become more separate of yourself, until at some point, see, once you realize you have the power to change your reality. I have the power to change my reality. Understand this. I can exit this matrix completely. Completely. Anytime. I have chosen to stay up to this point to help, but once you realize you have the power to alter your reality, and I have made this mistake myself, then but see, everyone else around you in this shared consensus reality also has the ability to create their own reality. And when your reality and their reality are at odds, right? And are butting heads, well, the normal situation would be bam, and either they repel or there's a merger and they become a new consensus, right? It's always going to be a new consensus, but the consensus may appear to be discordant, right? But if in fact this one here is like this because of his occult knowledge and understanding and his current consciousness of God, he's still a little bubble. Understand, the greatest dark sorcerer, the greatest dark wizard, the greatest occultist that serves the self is still a tiny bubble within infinity. Tiny little bubble. It's just compared to the other little bubbles that are normal humans, he may be 10,000 times the size. So when these realities bump up, this one dominates this one. And this one just gets sucked right in, right? But in doing that, because that little piece is also connected to a higher self somewhere, right? And in doing that, that higher self says, well, okay, fuck, I'll just bring my little piece over here and we'll go into this consensus. And basically what happens is this one here gets left alone in his own reality, you understand? Because he's refusing to work with others. He's refusing to play the game in an integrative way. He's just saying, I am God, so I will do what I want. I will change you at will. I will change you at will. I will just make you do what I want. And because we're infinite, you cannot actually do anything to anyone. He can't kill anyone. He can't get rid of anything. He can't do anything. But he can make the illusion in the current structure between two illusions that are facing off, right? The illusion of me versus the illusion of you. If I know what I am and you do not in your illusion, then I can make your illusion think all sorts of things. I can make your illusion think you're a slave and you serve me and I'm a god, and I can make it seem that way if you don't know what you are, and if you don't know this is a dream. Okay? But in doing that, the higher self that is on the other end of that little personality that is being manipulated, well, first of all, it's only going to allow that to happen if it wants the experience of being manipulated. Otherwise, you're just making this dream yourself. You're not doing it to anyone. You're just dreaming that you're doing something to someone. But there are always those who are willing to have this experience within infinity of being manipulated. So it resonates with a soul that is willing to be manipulated, and it has this appearance, right? But eventually that soul will be tired of this, and it will pull off, and it will just be manipulating. It'll be an AI scenario, you understand? It's just manipulating itself, really. It's just isolating itself from the game. It just becomes a black hole and just pulls things into it. You understand? Out of the light, everything is light. The dark ones seeing themselves as separate, they become separate. In seeing themselves as powerful, they become powerful. In seeing themselves as God, they gain the power of God within the little bubble of separation which they have mandated they are. Therefore, they can only be this little bubble of power and creation, but they can make that bubble as powerful as they want. That's why they say that the dark ones are actually blazing beings of light in tiny compact areas. They become black holes. They invert and they suck everything that's localized around them in, you know, until the situation resolves and on the other side and is healed and brought back, which it will. They eventually will get tired of their own self-imposed prison. They'll get tired of playing the games with themselves, and they'll rejoin us in the light. Anyways, you guys are really gonna like this book, The Matrix. It's intense. Love and light. Love and light. Let me just add something there in case this wasn't clear, what I just said. So, any of you have studied Eastern philosophies, you will know that in Hinduism and yoga and Buddhism, they tell you that it is vital that you awaken from the earth, from third density, because it is only here that it is truly possible, or it's much harder in the other realms, because in the heaven realms things are too nice, in the hell realms things are too stressful. So it does make sense, but it's precisely because of what I was trying to illustrate with the example of the Buddhist monk who thinks he is following and working for the ideals the Buddha set forth, but for hundreds of years in the astral realms has been acting for his own agenda and own vision of this, and has become something else. You see? In the unembodied state, I'm saying that all these saints, gurus, angels, demons, all these entities, of course there are angels in the higher realms, I'm not saying that, but many of what people are seeing of this are actually disincarnate beings playing around in the fourth density, playing those roles, just like you're here playing a human, they're playing there in their fourth density body for hundreds of years or thousands of years as some kind of disincarnate being they've become attached to. It's just a different role with different rules. Their rules are probably either guidance or manipulation, and in that way they either find themselves more to the truth or away, just like we do here. So, but because when you die, or when you actually project, because in your fourth density body and in your fifth density bodies and your higher bodies, the reality you find yourself in more closely and quickly resembles what you will it to be, what you think it and what you believe it to be. So your fourth density reality, if you believe it to be one way, you will quickly find yourself in a reality resonating that way with others of like vibration very quickly, right? So because of that, it is much easier to get lost in your own delusions there, especially for those souls that don't know what has actually happened, that don't understand what could happen, don't believe in, first of all, life after death. There are vast amounts of souls basically in a coma state, fourth density souls, because they believe there's nothing left, nothing after. They believe it so much that they see nothing until they finally wake up, until their higher self gets to them and sends a message and wakes them up. and they become lost for some period of time. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane the scope of the illusion that we have perpetrated on ourselves, because this is all us. This whole big thing. And it is crazy. It is crazy. Love and light.